I want to capture an elder dragon.
Sir, that is impossible.
Well, what if we just found a really weak one?
A weak one?
Yeah, like one that will barely even fight back on the last vestiges of its life.
That sounds sort of vindictive.
Maybe like a walking volcano.
And how do you plan to capture a walking volcano?
Probably like a wooden barricade.
How are you, my boss?
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, of all the monsters in Monster Hunter, there are some that are absolutely beloved, and some that are often treated quite the opposite, for one reason or another. I'm a firm believer that every monster in the series is an incredible feat of design. When I talk poorly about a monster, it is all in comparison to the upper echelon of monsters, the ones that, for me, get absolutely everything right. Not just right, but perfect. That said, even the monsters that people put in their lower tiers all have at least a few good reasons to love them. Every monster is created with passion, and as a result, every monster is somebody's favorite monster. Today, I will be presenting my case in defense of Zora Magdaros, this barricade. Oh, wait, that won't hold up. But what does? Well, let's break this down to the simplest elements. What is Zora Magdaros? He is a gigantic turtle/tortoise volcano monster, a walking pile of destructive energy that is nearly impossible to topple, as the sheer density of his shell makes him incredibly durable, even proportionately to his size as a whole. The only monster ever recorded to attack one is the Nergigante that we see do so in the story. However, that is also a particularly weak Zora Magdaros near the end of its life cycle, and the Nergigante attacks when Zorah is also under attack by us.
Coincidence? I think not!
Nergigante is a vulture, not a power player. So here we have what is considered a nigh indestructible monster to anything but time itself, seemingly approaching in a collision course with the center of the landmass, where its death would release an immense amount of bioenergy. If you are wondering why that would be bad, remember that Xeno'jiiva, as it was, existed as a result of feeding off the bioenergy of significantly smaller creatures over the course of years. Imagine if the same Xeno'jiiva had gotten a full plate of Zora Magdaros before coming out of the cocoon too. Put lightly, the operation run by the guild to stop Zora's attempt to pass on in the Everstream probably saved the entire landmass that we are aware of in that location. Maybe even more, but definitely the surrounding area. As much as jokes are often made, by us especially, about the commander's wishes to capture Zora Magdaros, even though he is an elder dragon, and also a bazillion feet tall, and also essentially a volcano, the reality is that plan exists because Zorah isn't really a threat in the way that most monsters in the series are a threat. He isn't maliciously seeking out blood, he isn't taking down villages or disrupting the food chain by mass hunting a certain other monster, he isn't causing crazy storms by his mere existence. He is simply a dying creature with somewhere he impulsively wants to go that's not good for us. While our goal is to stop him from getting there, there is simply no logical reason for us to actively kill this creature. It is a neutral creature, relatively speaking. Actually, before this stage in life, Zora Magdaros as a species mostly just live away from all other living things, some quite deep underwater, and they also really like eating minerals, having very little impact on the lives of other living things, and being generally quite chill for something that hot. Is it weird to call a turtle hot? Let's get back to the actual quest. The thing that everybody has all their real gripes with about Zora Magdaros is the fight as a whole. The fact that it barely even feels like you are fighting the monster, the idea that it is 90% siege weaponry, and well, while it might not have made for the most enjoyable gameplay experience by any means, it is very much explicable through the context of the monster and the story. We don't want to kill Zorah, so why would we send the hunters in to cut the throat or something like that? Ballistas and cannons can only really ever do surface level damage to a creature of that size and shell density unless you hit an incredibly weak spot, which we definitely would be doing as hunters if we were using our weapons. And the only things that we actually fight on his body are the crags to prevent them from spewing things back at us, which is essentially like declawing a cat. Not exactly good for our friend Zorah when he goes back to the wild, but much less bad than killing him. All this said, we do use a Dragonator.
Hey, yo! That's fucking sus.
But it's aimed at like his legs or something. Okay, look, the Dragonator is a big cool moment and it definitely does pierce through him and do a lot of damage, but it clearly isn't in a position to hit anything properly vital. On the point of it being a cool moment though, that is the whole thing about this fight. No matter how you feel about the actual content of the gameplay, the combat involved, it's pretty hard to deny how impactful and epic every moment felt the first time you were here. Okay, every moment except when you had to wait for him to finish walking after killing the Crags. But even during that, you had these stalagmites that you could fire slinger ammo at to deal damage and make them fall down on top of the monster. And you could just watch the beautiful mayhem happening beside you as well, just the same. Because more than anything, this fight is a spectacle. And oh fucking hell, what a spectacle it is. I mean, this is something that I could imagine as a major conflict in a Monster Hunter movie. The exact way it is done here with some obviously different pacing, but it is high stakes, unique context, not so much kill the creature as it is respectfully direct the creature in a way that will minimize all damage to the surrounding ecosystem. How unbelievably Monster Hunter does that sound? Yes, we hunt monsters, but at least in the lore, we don't just do it for fun, not just for the sake of hunting monsters, we do it to protect people. We do it to regulate populated areas to make sure that nothing gets out of hand. Also worth noting, while Zora Magdaros is the second longest monster in the main series behind Dalamadur, he is quite likely the overall biggest main series monster. Think about it this way, Dalamadur is about 1 3/4 the length of Zora Magdaros. However, look at them both side by side, and I can guarantee you Zora Magdaros is easily more than twice as wide and as tall as Dalamadur. So if you coiled Dalamadur into a ball shape, then I think Zorah would still be a far amount larger. Consider then that these monsters of this size spend a lot of their time in a hibernation type state. As mentioned earlier, they eat minerals. Once you find a place with dense minerals, you can sort of just sleep, wake up, eat some minerals, then go back to sleep. Wake up, then eat some minerals, then go back to sleep. Zorah doesn't have many predators, and so why would he move? There is a theory by a guild researcher that some areas that hunters believe to be actual volcanoes could very much just be the outer shell of a sleeping Zora Magdaros. Imagine walking around a regular Monster Hunter map, you're transferring into the volcano section of the area, then your hunter drops to their knees. Your whole screen starts shaking, music starts blaring in your ears, the map is alive. Any creatures that side of the map freak out and try to run off to the non-volcano side, evacuating the now no longer docile creature. And you as a hunter have the choice to run away in fear as well, or try to find the source of our particularly deafening roar. Maybe you find a large monster trying to agitate the Zorah, or maybe this is just a random feature of a map in the future where once in a while, the Zorah that you are on will wake up and you and a large monster you are fighting will have to deal with the entire area moving around. Obviously, this isn't the encounter that we got in World, but the story behind our encounter was much more meaningful than that, and considering it has been confirmed that Zora Magdaros do exist in the old world, and also the fact that there is a Zora Magdaros skull in the Frost Islands of Monster Hunter Rise, it is actually entirely possible that all of this could pay off again at some point way down the line with an actual in-map Zora Magdaros event. The likelihood of that may not be particularly high. After all, most monsters big enough to require a whole siege don't return very often. But how cool would it be to have that fun little cinematic siege in World turn into, well, a living, breathing map in the most literal of senses? I think that would be so incredibly cool, so awesome. Of course, as far as the fight itself goes, it was slightly made better with the arch-tempered version released as an event quest. The timer was much tighter and maybe didn't change the part where you don't really fight the monster with your weapon, but did make it feel much more intense the entire time, really cut out a lot of the waiting periods, which really amplified the cinematic nature that the quest is built to have. It made your heart pump even though you were just carting around cannonballs and ballista ammo. And isn't that what it's all about? That adrenaline pumping monster hunting moment. That is Zora Magdaros, a beautiful design of a turtly volcano monster with a really neat background, a notable impact on the story of Monster Hunter World, dealt with in a way that exemplifies the base foundations of what it is to be a guild-sanctioned monster hunter, and in a way that looks absolutely badass the entire time. Yes, the fight does have a number of low points, but at the end of the day, the fight is only one side of a monster as a whole, and even then, when you consider all of the story context, I actually am really okay with the way that it played out the more that I think about it all. In the story, we may have defended against Zora Magdaros, but today I have been defending him himself, and honestly, I've probably gained more than a little fondness for him myself while making this, all in an effort to explain that even when we say one monster isn't as good as another, that is far from saying that it is bad. It's far from saying that it is undeserving of love and affection. They're still good. Even the weirdest, monster in Monster Hunter has reasons to be passionate about it. Alright everyone, has this affected your thoughts on Zora Magdaros in the slightest? How many of you out there already considered him a higher tier monster? Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.